So earlier today, President Trump welcomed NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte to the Oval Office, unveiling a $10 billion initiative to accelerate military aid to Ukraine and intensify economic pressure on Russia. The plan combines a massive weapons package, economic sanctions, and some diplomatic efforts in order to possibly get Putin to shift the war's trajectory or potentially end the war altogether. We'll see. Now, Trump expressed deep frustration with Putin's deceptive tactics, stating, quote, "I'm very, very unhappy with Moscow." He then described misleading conversations he's had with Putin by saying, quote, "I'd get home, I'd say, 'First Lady.'" Okay, side note, it's a bit weird that he addresses his wife as First Lady when talking directly to her. Anyway, Trump would say, "First Lady, I had the most wonderful talk with Vladimir, and I think we're finished." And then I'll turn on the television, or she'll say to me one time, "Well, that's strange because they just bombed a nursing home." So Trump has continued to escalate the condemnation on Putin's dishonesty, noting, quote, "He talks nice and then he bombs everybody. It's got to stop," end quote. Secretary General Rutte emphasized NATO's unity, declaring that all member nations are totally committed to supporting Ukraine with tailored aid packages. And I would say, Hungary may not be on board, but honestly, they do seem to be softening because of the political pressure Orban is facing in his country. Now, all of this seems to also stem from the June 2025 NATO summit in The Hague, where Zelensky proposed a coordinated weapons pipeline, securing a pledge of $37.5 billion in 2025 aid, which is a 40% increase from $26.8 billion provided in 2024. Rutte noted that countries like Germany, Norway, Finland, Canada, Sweden, Denmark, and the United Kingdom would fund the new initiative, ensuring speed is of the essence to counter Russia's intensified attacks, which include 10 times more drones and missiles being fired in June 2025 than the previous year. Now, the $10 billion weapons deal, described as one of the largest on record, involves the U.S. producing 17 Patriot air defense systems, 500 Patriot interceptor missiles, 10,000 artillery shells, and 1,000 Javelin anti-tank missiles. European NATO allies will cover 100% of the cost, with Germany and Norway already committing $3.5 billion for 3 Patriot systems and 150 missiles. Trump spoke on the economic upside, stating, quote, "We're going to make top-of-the-line weapons and they'll be sent to NATO. Billions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield. Ukraine will take it," end quote. Deliveries coordinated by NATO will begin within days, with German Defense Minister Pistorius and U.S. Defense Secretary Hegseth finalizing the logistics today. Now, as for the Trump-issued 50-day sanctions ultimatum to Russia, the White House is threatening 100% tariffs on Russian goods, which isn't a huge deal given how little trade is conducted between the U.S. and Russia. And honestly, in fact, Russian markets reacted positively to the 50-day delay that Trump issued. But nonetheless, Trump has also threatened secondary sanctions on countries like China, India, and Brazil, which account for 70% of Russia's energy exports. Trump warned, quote, "We're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. If I were in Putin's shoes, I would reconsider my position on the negotiations," end quote. Russia's fossil fuel exports comprise of 33% of government revenue and 60% of total exports, and this definitely would severely harm Russia, these secondary sanctions. But why the 50 days? Why wait 50 days? Well, apparently Putin spoke to Trump, and in that conversation, he told Trump Russia would meet its goals and end the war in 60 days. That conversation took place 10 days ago, so there's the 50 days. Additionally, Trump endorsed redirecting $300 billion in frozen Russian assets held by G7 countries, including $5 billion in U.S.-controlled funds, to Ukraine for defense and reconstruction. This has majority support among the G7 finance ministers, but France, Germany, and Italy are hesitant, citing legal concerns and risks to the euro's stability. Nonetheless, we could see movement on these frozen assets to Ukraine as early as this September. Diplomatically, the Vatican has offered to mediate ceasefire talks, but Russia's demand for Ukraine to cede 20% of its territory and limit Ukraine's army to 300,000 troops obviously is a non-starter for Ukraine. Zelensky insists on Kyiv's inclusion in all negotiations going forward because he is suspicious of being sidelined. I mean, obviously, it's his own country. NATO's coordination will ensure rapid weapons deployment, with 80% of the $10 billion package expected to reach Ukraine by August. That is very fast. However, the US has the logistics capability to do so. Now, the next 50 days will focus on delivering the $10 billion package, enforcing tariffs that are already in place, and pursuing talks. The problem is the ultimatum gives Russia time to launch 25,000 additional drones and missiles if we go by what has happened over the last few weeks. But honestly, this is not enough time to win the war for either side, whether you're Russia or Ukraine. So giving Putin 50 days to reach his goals while giving Ukraine the capability to stop Putin from reaching his goals is a bit weird to me. But this is a step in the right direction and a complete 180 on Trump's previous stance, so this is very much welcome given where we were just 2 months ago.